Here come the boys. Y'all ready to go swimming, baby? Come on. Give it up. Get out of that water. I tried telling y'all, it's swim lessons, baby.
What is up, good people? How are we doing today? Hopefully well. Thank you for joining us here on Swim Lessons, the podcast. My name is Dallas Hanson. My guest today, it's a fun one. It's a great one. His name is Justin Wetzel. Coach Wetzel is the associate head coach for the G League team that represents the Indiana Pacers. What I love about Coach Wetzel is I met him at Dickinson State. Since then, his dreamer mentality and his basketball brain has led him not only to work with the Milwaukee Bucks, also the Houston Rockets, and now with the Indiana Pacers. And it's fun to get to know a guy like this that comes from a small town in Montana and makes his way to the biggest stage we know as at basketball, and that's NBA. So I love him. I love him because he's a dreamer. He's a hard worker. But as you'll see within this conversation, he also keeps his heart intact. And what I mean by that is he represents a lot of people that made him get to where he is today. But before we get to Coach Wetzel, we got to talk about our sponsors because they made today possible. How about this one? PSP Network. It's game day. They've been promoting local student athletes for a very long time. Right now, they are in the heart of softball and baseball season. Make sure to check out their schedule of events on their website. That's psp.network, or give them a subscription at PSP Network right there on YouTube land. Nick Holberg and the team do a fantastic job, and I mean fantastic. Can't wait for some of their future endeavors as well. They've got a lot of things in line. If you're hungry, if you love a good time, and you want to have some fun in Williston, North Dakota, check out River's Edge Bar and Grill. They are known for offering the best happy hour in town, providing unbeatable deals in a lively atmosphere. Guests can also enjoy a variety of entertaining activities, including bingo, trivia, and the very popular Name That Tune. Come on down to River's Edge for great drinks, great food, and great fun. Next up, Glosso Angus. They're a proud sponsor of Swim Lessons, the podcast. They're your premier source for registered Black Angus cattle since 1973. Glosso Angus cattle showcase dominance, durability, and docility, and they're built to thrive on the northern plains. Check them out. That's Glosso, G-L-A-S-O-E, Angus.com. Hey, folks, also make sure you check out Plains Window Cleaning, interior and exterior window cleaning on residential and commercial buildings throughout North Dakota. Call Jacob today at 701-609-0405. Again, that's Jacob Broughton at Plains Window Cleaning. Real quick, make sure. I know if you listen to this every week, you've heard me say this, but please subscribe to our YouTube page. Please. Thank you very much. And hey, thanks for all the support, man. It means the world to me. A friend of mine is a friend to you and everybody at home. So please subscribe. Appreciate all the support. It's been phenomenal. We're going to be taking some road trips here in the future, so buckle up because it's going to be a fun ride here in the future. My guest, the fun, the anticipated, and the NBA man, Coach Justin Wetzel. Coach, it is so good to see your face. Last time I saw you was top 5 moment in my life. We were at Dickinson State University. You were the head boys basketball coach. I was playing college football. We were at a talent show. Teams of 5. You were a guest judge, and me and Josh Borm end up winning the contest after some great impersonations. But after that, you and I kind of became friends, and it was so cool to see what you've done with your life and how are things going right now with you, Coach?
Yeah, things are great. That's a great memory for me too. I mean, you talk about, I don't know much about football, but I have a PhD in immature humor, and yeah, I knew you guys were pretty good at that. So, yeah, that was a fun memory for me too. Things are going well. Been a lot has changed since I left as the head men's coach at Dickinson State. But man, it's been a great ride and been extremely lucky in this career journey. But and likewise to you, man, everything you're doing is fantastic. This is awesome stuff. I'm honored to be on this, and thank you for taking the time.
Well, thanks, Coach. Appreciate that. I do want you to take us back, though, because this is a big part of the journey that I was really interested in was after you leave Dickinson State, take us to your mindset and how you ended up with the Indiana Pacers organization.
Sure. So let me talk back before Dickinson State. Not avoiding your question, I promise.
No, you're good.
So I played a couple years of college basketball. Always knew I wanted to coach. Started as a high school coach. I really had no idea how to navigate the coaching profession when I got done playing college. I had some pretty good mentors, but it was a different world then. There wasn't social media. It wasn't as relevant. There wasn't, hey, take this class or go network with this guy. So I was really naive in the sense of how to navigate this thing. I knew I wanted to coach. I knew basketball was a passion. I knew my playing days were eventually going to come to an end. So I took the approach of, hey, I just need to get a job coaching and do well there and work my tail off, and that's how I'll climb the ladder. So I took a I took an assistant high school job right out of playing college. And long story longer here, after 2 years as an assistant high school coach, 2 years as a head high school coach, I caught a lucky break and got on with a minor league pro team that was coming through Montana, the old Continental Basketball Association, the CBA. All the older guys out there, that'll resonate with them. It's kind of what the G League is now. It was the unofficial minor league of the NBA back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s. And that was a 2-year deal. I was lucky enough to be an assistant coach and a head coach in professional basketball in my mid-20s. And that league folded, and I wanted to stay in coaching. So that what led me to college, right? So I had a 9-year college career journey of coaching, always kind of known in the back of my mind, I wanted to get back at the pro level, that experience I had in my mid-20s. And enjoyed my time in college, coached at my alma mater, MSU Billings, for 5 years, coached Division I at Montana State in Bozeman, Montana, and then was a head coach at Dickinson State. Always with, hey, man, I'd like to get back to the pro level if that ever came about. Again, long story longer, and on cue, there's the dog barking.
Hey, that's all right, yeah.
Long story longer, I had the opportunity came up with the Bucks. It's like anything else in this world. I knew a guy. A former college teammate of mine gave me the opportunity to join the Milwaukee Bucks' new G League team. And, I did a bit of a career reset at the age of 36, jumping back into professional basketball, building this 9-year network and climb in college basketball, and took a chance at 36, turned 37 in the hiring process, and really did a career reset. But going back to my original point was, I didn't know how to navigate this thing. Looking back on it now, if I'm giving a young person advice on how to get into coaching, I'm saying, okay, what level do you want to be at? And easier said than done, but get in the room you want to be in. Okay, you want to be at the college level, go try to be a manager, go try to be a GA, graduate assistant. If you want to be at the pro level, try to get an internship. Try to work your way through the G League as an intern, and then maybe you get a video coordinator role. But I've really been, it may have, I guess, slowed my journey or hindered my journey, for lack of a better word, not taking that route, because I went high school, pro, college, back to pro, but I've only been a coach. Every position I've had has been a decision-making position. And that's not to, say being a manager isn't a great responsibility, or being a video coordinator isn't a great responsibility. Because there's you look at the NBA and in high major college basketball, there's a ton of head coaches now who were started in the video room. So I'm not downplaying that path, but there is a level of frustration some days going, man, I wonder what would have happened if I would have just got in at the ground level at 20 years old in a video room, where I'd be now. Those thoughts creep in a little bit, but I think I'm stronger for being a decision maker. Since I was 20 years old, I was in a decision-making position as a coach. So I know that may not specifically answer your question.
Hey folks, are you craving authentic, mouth-watering smoked meats? Well, let me tell you where to go. It's Bronson's Smokehouse in Beulah, North Dakota. They've been serving up legendary country-style sausage, jerky, and Slim Jims for over 40 years. Order online today at bronsonsmokehouse.com. That's Bronson's, Bronsons, smokehouse.com, and taste the tradition.
long road to your question, but caught a lucky break, got in with the Milwaukee Bucks organization, and it was an exciting time to be in that organization. It was right during their climb. It was, I believe my second year there was Giannis's first MVP.
Wow.
You could really feel something happening there. And yeah, if you'd like, I can continue the G League journey if you want.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that Milwaukee time with Giannis.
Yeah, so I didn't have a ton of personal interaction with Giannis. We were, on a rare occasion, I was around enough the periphery to first of all, know he's an extremely talent, and the Greek Freak is a fitting nickname because the guy is just his presence is unbelievable. And I really enjoyed my time there. Got a chance to, from a distance observe, get my first real look at the NBA, world. Jason Kidd was the head coach my first year with the G League team. And then Mike Budenholzer took over my second year with the G League team and worked with a really good staff in the G League as well. Jordan Brady, our head coach, tremendous guy, had a good staff. So that time there, you could really feel, what they were building there. And I mean, with Giannis, like, extreme competitor. I don't, I'm not going to sit here and tell you, I know him on an extreme personal level, but enough to know extreme talent in a really good person.
Yeah.
But with that being said, go Pacers. We're right now in a playoff series with the Bucks. So, I'll appreciate and enjoy Giannis after we take care of business here.
Okay, so you spend a few years in Milwaukee, then you get the Pacers opportunity. Walk us through that transition, because that's a big jump for you, because now you go from the G League to a head coach in the G League.
Yeah, actually, I went from the Bucks to the Houston Rockets G League team.
Oh.
Yep. I don't expect, hey, Magellan couldn't navigate my journey, man. It's been 12 teams in about a 21, 22 year span. So
that's all right.
My wife's a saint for helping me along in this journey. So I went from the Bucks organization and the Bucks G League team to the Houston Rockets G League team, which is called the Rio Grande Valley Vipers. That was the season. There was a G League bubble. So I was in a bubble for about 2.5 months, give or take, something like that, and with the Rockets organization. Great experience. It was a tremendous experience. Enjoyed it. It was just something I'll look back on, kind of that whole COVID playing in a bubble, a literal bubble situation, where you're getting tested every day. And at the time it kind of became a way of life. But looking back on it, man, it was a really unique experience. So I'm someday, maybe someone will be asking me about that, because hopefully those days are so far gone and we never have to encounter that again. But
seriously,
really unique experience. And then from there, I went with I took an assistant position with the Washington Wizards G League team, Capital City Go-Go. So my wife and I, we were in DC for a little over a year. Great experience just being in that city. I'm a bit of a political nerd at times. I wouldn't say by any means a history buff or anything like that, but so that experience was great. We had a great run there. Made the playoffs with the Vipers. Then the next year we were lucky enough to make the playoffs with the Capital City Go-Go, and then that led me to the Indiana organization, and I've been here. Just finished year 3, my first year as the associate head coach. This is, honestly, I say this, I'm not just being political when I say this. They've treated me really well. Our head coach at the G League level, Tom Hankins, and our general manager, Chris Taylor, treated me really well. We've really enjoyed our 3 years here in Indianapolis. Made the playoffs all 3 years, had a really good run. So that always makes it a lot more enjoyable.
Capital City Go-Go. That is an all-time name. That's got to be some great merch. You got to send me some of that merch.
Yeah, man. Hey, I went from being a Capital City Go-Go to a Fort Wayne Mad Ant, then an Indiana Mad Ant, and our name just changed a couple weeks ago to the Noblesville Boom, which is just a suburb like 15 miles north of Indianapolis.
Hey folks, hope you are enjoying this episode. But support for Swim Lessons, the podcast, comes from Brandon Weber, your Edward Jones financial advisor at 1600 2nd Avenue Southeast, Minot, North Dakota. For more information, visit edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC. You know, when you're talking about this, somebody that kept coming into my mind was, because I'm a big nerd when it comes to Phil Jackson, and I've read all of his books, and he talks about coaching the Albany Patroons, then going down into Mexico, coaching their teams. I mean, this is all like historic things that nobody knows about Phil, because he was older when he got the Bulls job. I mean, and it was kind of a risk for him to even get that job. Chicago didn't really want him, but they ended up getting him. But I mean, so like when people don't know this about coaches, but they just see when the coach wins the championship. They don't see all the behind the scenes, the journey. Like you just said, you've been with so many teams in so many years, having to travel. I mean, even football coaches, friends of mine, Dalman Gibson, Stephen Cook, Austin Brown, they got to travel. The turnover's high sometimes. Hey, you're an assistant head coach. The head coach loses his job. Guess what? You're out too. So, I mean, there's just a lot of different pieces to this. And I think in the coaching world, specifically for head coaches, it's tough. It's tough. And if it's tough with the family, it's tough with all this stuff. I mean, moving around. How has it been for you though? Because it seems like you've transitioned excellent every time. But right now with the Pacers organization, is this kind of what you thought it would be when it's leading up to all this hard work into this good spot you're in now?
You know, I'll answer your last question first. I mean, I'd be lying to you say I thought any of this would lead to this when I was, getting into this coaching thing. There's a part of you that thinking, hey man, like I'm gonna get to the highest level. There's always that, This is what I'm gonna do. But when you really peel back the layers, and that's what keeps you resilient, is that, for lack of a better word, that dream. But when you're traveling as a Class C coach in Montana, and I'm driving 60 miles one way to coach a Class C team, did I ever think I would walk into an NBA facility every day to go to work? There's a lot of days I'd say no, but an interior belief was always there. But I always, and I still feel, I mean, hey, I'm nowhere. There is not a sense of I've accomplished or made it by any means, because the G League is an absolute grind as well in terms of the relative of professional basketball. But there is a sense of, yes, this is what I've worked for, you know what I mean? And this was all worth it. Having certain moments, whether it's having a successful season or seeing a guy get a call up, I always remained focused no matter where I was at, whether it was a Class C job that we had to co-op just to field a team, or a Division I assistant, or walking into an NBA facility. I was going to treat it like it was the most important thing outside of family and friends to me in the world. I treated my high school job like I was at the highest level, and just like I hope I still do every day. So that's the one thing I've always maintained was, man, I'm going to treat, everyone's going to get my best, and maybe there's some other guys who their best is better, but hey, man, you're going to get my best. I'm not going to sell out an employer of a hard day's work, and I'm not going to sell out a kid for not giving them my all. So, that part has always remained there. You know what I mean? Bloom where you're planted. Wherever you're at, bloom where you're planted. Make it your dream job. And then, the rest will hopefully take care of itself. But you don't get here unless you have a level of inner resilience. And I don't have a lot of strengths, but I think I have a level of resilience, and that's what hopefully gets me through the questionable days. But also, you have to have a support system. I mean, I'd mentioned my wife a little bit earlier. If she didn't want to take this journey with me, I would say, okay, where do you want to live? And I'll find another profession. But her support is where it starts. Obviously, my family and just people around me, who've given me opportunities. That's all you can ask for, is opportunities in life.
There's a guy on your social media that pops up a lot, and I want to talk about him because he's a big part of your life, Jalil Okafor. Tell us a little bit about Mr. Okafor and what he's like as a player and also a human being, because everybody knows him, the great college player. He gets drafted. The NBA time goes a little bit, let's say, not the best it could, but now you see him bounce back and you see him play fantastic basketball in the G League, making his way back to the National Basketball Association. Tell us a little bit about Jalil.
Yeah, I think I mentioned that word resilience. I mean, that young man has it. I mean, he's on the surface, people will see, tremendous natural ability. They'll see Duke, national championship, lotto pick, all that stuff. But he's battled injuries. He's battled a lot of things. He's tried to adapt his game to maybe a little bit of the modern style NBA. So, I mean, that's what I appreciate about him is a level of resiliency and absolute zero ego, like a level of confidence for sure, but a zero ego, like, for where he's been and what he's accomplished. It would be easy for him to fall into that. I'm in the G League. I'm trying to work my way back. Ego and stubbornness, that might hinder any of us, right? And it faced with adversity, but that's what makes him really special. His ability aside, just him as a person, he's going to be when the ball's done bouncing, he's going to be fine in life. He's just a tremendous person and extremely kind guy, except when he's on the basketball court, then he's a bit of a beast. But we had a bit of a connection this season, and I didn't know this about him on a personal level. We were literally getting ready to play our first game of the year, and getting ready to do some individual warm-ups before the game with the guys, and I just hear, "Hey, coach," in a big, deep voice, you know what I mean? And he saw something on social media with it being Native American Heritage Month. I had something on social media, some kind of interview or something, and he'd mentioned that he saw that, and he said, I'm Native American, on my mom's side.
What, really?
Choctaw and Cherokee. And he's like, "I'd like to talk to you about it more someday. You know what I mean? I know you grew up on a reservation. I'd like to chat with you about it." So we had some good talks about that and kind of where I'm from and where his family on his mother's side comes from, and how, more or less how he'd like to explore and connect with that side of his life, because his mother had since passed. But he has, again, Choctaw and Cherokee on his mom's side. So he was really interested in that. And I just found that really endearing for a lot of reasons. And it's because, it's anytime you can find representation, and you've been around, you've coached against Native American teams, have Native American teammates. I mean, the passion and there is for sport in Indian country, and
especially basketball.
For me, especially basketball. And for me, it was like, wow, here's a guy who's got some strong roots in Indian country, and his accolades, like, wow, he could make a real difference, and I was never going to like push that on him, like, hey, you need to speak on it, but he'd offered, like, hey, and I'd like to get involved with anything you may have down the line, to kind of get in touch with his background a little bit.
How about Trace Eaglestaff? Talk about Native American roots. That kid's making a name for himself.
Wow. I caught a little bit of your clips with your interview and stuff with him, man. What an awesome story. Like, I didn't know me, I'm an old man. I'm the worst guy on social media, but unwillingly, I didn't know we followed each other on Instagram. And when I messaged him and just said, "Man, it's awesome what you're doing." And he gave an awesome response back, and we chatted a little bit just via social media. But there's a guy, I don't know him. You know him far better than I do on a personal level, but it just seems like he's focused, and that level of resilience is definitely in that young man.
Oh, he's a hard worker. And I mean, you've coached a lot of players, Coach Wetzel, but if you're molding together like the perfect basketball player, let's say, Give me 3 things that you would want that basketball player to have.
This may not be the number one, might not be the answer everyone expects here, but you have to have a level of talent. You just do. Like these coaches, you see it. I'm mentioning social media a lot, but you see a lot of basketball experts, right? You see a lot of experts in general online, but look, we're only as good as the players we coach, right? And talent, I've been lucky enough to make the playoffs a handful of years in a row in the G League with 3 different teams. It's little to do with what I am as a coach. It's because we've had extreme talent. So, and that's relative to any level, you know what I mean? Not just, I'm lucky enough to be at, the professional level, but you have to have you have to have talent at the high school level to be any kind of success. So, a level of talent is what you need in a player. And furthermore, in that first bullet point, some kind of skill set, right? I don't mean talent as in, man, they got to be athletic, but is he a shooter? Is he a physical presence? Is he a elite rebounder? Is he maybe he's not a shooter, but man, he's an elite ball handler. He can get. So when I say talent, but what's your skill set, right? Yeah. What is your skill set? What shows up on a scouting report when a team's getting ready to play you? And secondly is just these are 1A and 1B, but you have to have a level of work ethic. You know what I mean? And I'm almost saying it backwards. You probably don't get that talent or skill set if you don't have a work ethic, So work ethic, talent, and just character, man. You got to be coachable. You got to be willing to be a teammate. You got to be willing to accept a role. And for me, it's at any level, it's far more important to be a better person than it is to be a good basketball player, because that's going to serve you. It just will. There's a rare, small percentage of people who can just get by in life. And when I say get by, I mean survive, provide for your family, provide for yourself by just an ultimate talented dude and not have to be a good person and interact with people. That's going to run out. Your talent's going to run out. You're going to age out, whatever the word is you want to use. And you can only fall back on the character of who you are. You know what I mean? A lot of times that character pushes you through those two first bullet points I talked about, having a level of hard work and resilience, and then talent as well. But I would say, work ethic, talent, and just high character, or doesn't have to be a perfect character, but just someone who's a decent person.
Is there any Coach K stories you can share that Jalil might have shared with you?
I don't, unfortunately. I wish I did.
Yeah.
I wish I did.
No, that's all right.
I'll have to ask him next time.
Yeah. Okay, so one thing I love asking coaches, and that we've had a fair share here on Swim Lessons, but offensive philosophy. Walk me through what a G League offensive philosophy looks like for you, Coach Wetzel.
Yeah, so being a minor league team, partnered with the Indiana Pacers, first and foremost, you want to mirror what they do.
Yeah.
Like you have to have, there's a level of identity, you'll always have as your own, but it has to mirror, it has to partner your NBA team, because for a lot of reasons. One, that's just the way I believe it should be. Being a G League, G League assistant, G League associate, head coach, whatever, any role. I believe that. And that's what we do here as well in Indiana. And the reason for that is, one of the reasons for that is there's 3 two-way players. I'm not sure if people are overly familiar with what two-way players are, but not two-way as in offense and defense, but two-way as in they're essentially an NBA contract, but they can transition to and from the G League team.
Like Bronny, kind of.
Yeah. Well, Bronny's a standard NBA contract guy.
Okay.
But they have specific two-way contracts where you're just back and forth to the NBA or the G League team without any kind of assignment. Bronny has to be assigned to the Lakers G League team.
Okay.
So a two-way player can just kind of come and go. This is very, basic layman's description of it. I'm sure there's some NBA G League guys personnel that'll watch this and roll their eyes. So I'm not using some kind of right term, but so there's 3 two-way contracts. Every NBA team has 3 two-way contracts. And then you can have assignment guys. Like Bronny is classified as an NBA assignment guy. You're on the Lakers standard contract, but we're going to put you with the G League team. You know what I mean? We had a young man here named Johnny Furphy, played at Kansas. He was a standard NBA contract with the Indiana Pacers. He was on assignment with us for a handful of games this year. But then we have 3 two-ways. So what I'm getting at is when those guys are coming back and forth, it has to be a seamless transition. One, it's what's best for the organization and the coaches on both sides, but it's what's best for the athlete too. You know what I mean? They don't need to be trying to learn multiple different systems. You can relate to this as a former high school coach. Your JV team probably should mirror what your varsity team's doing. You know what I mean? Or at least have some kind of semblance. And I'm not saying, not trying to say arguably the second best league in the world is the JV team, but so that's kind of where it starts. And what's great here specifically in Indiana is myself and our staff and my bosses with the G League team, we kind of all like and love what the Pacers do anyways. I mean, I know, being a smaller market team, the Indiana Pacers may not have made the way to your couch on the TV yet, but man, they are an exciting team and one of the best offenses in the NBA and really improved defensive team. I think they were 15th or 14th in defensive rating this year and top 5, I believe, in offensive rating. And after the All-Star break, one of probably the best offense in the NBA. So it's easy for me because I love what they do. You know what I mean? So it's easy for me to buy into that. You know what I mean? I would anyways, because that's just kind of the nature of it. But man, just an exciting style of play. And what that is specifically, to make it quick is, everyone says they want to play fast, right? And that's kind of the buzz thing, want to play fast, positionless basketball. But, the Pacers truly do, they do want to do that. And even at the G League level, we've had one of the best offenses in the G League for the last 3 years. So we've been a really good offensive team at the G League level as well. Top 5, I believe, in offensive rating the last 3 years. So it's a fast style. There's an emphasis on getting it out, winning the first 7 seconds. And really it's an analytical model of we want to get to the paint. We want to get layups and dunks. We want to get fouled. We want to get free throws, or we want to get paint touch threes, not just threes, but we want to get to the paint touch threes, or early transition open threes, specifically corner threes, because those are a higher percentage shot in the NBA. So it's really based on, there's a lot more to it. There's a lot more algebra than to it than I'm describing, but it's really based on an analytical approach of layups and dunks, or getting the free throw line, or paint touch corner threes, because those are the highest valued and highest percentage shots. And you do that by playing fast. And like I mentioned, man, their coach, the Pacers coaching staff is elite in incorporating everything they do. They've got tremendous talent, like I mentioned before. In my opinion, one of the best guards in the league, and Tyrese Halliburton. And so it's easy for us to seamlessly accept that offensively. But that aside, if I was to get back at a level where I was the head coach in college, where I wasn't part of a universal organization to mirror their system, I would want to play that style anyways.
Is there anything better than an inside touch out to the 3? I mean, for me, that's like the best thing. Even when I was playing, coaching, whatever, watching, it's like when the guard comes down, gets an entry pass to the block makes a little move, kicks back out. It's like automatic 3. It's the best
thing of beauty, right? And it's for whatever reason, maybe because of my experience or where I'm at, I'll talk basketball with a lot of different people, and in whether it's a high school coach or, and I was the same way when I was a high school coach. I wanted the secret sauce. I was at a coaching clinic listening to Larry Kristoviak or Calvin Sampson. I got my notebook. I'm 23 years old, waiting for, tell me the magic, right? Well, it's an easy game, right? And it helps having talented dudes, but draw two guys to the ball, find the open man, and make the easy play. If I had $1 for every time I told that to our guys that, hey, just make the easy read this year, I'd be able to buy us both a nice steak dinner. So yeah, it's an easy game, but that's a beautiful. What you just described is a simple but beautiful play.
How about Coach Sampson? I mean, he was at a press conference and I was watching just because I'm a basketball nerd like you, but he was talking about Montana Tech and his time at Butte. Yeah. And he's like, when I was up at Tech, I had to. How about his run? And it's too bad they came up short, but that game against Duke, that was phenomenal. And then he loses in the championship, but his run is one for the books.
I got to say this as well. Native American coach.
I didn't know that either. Wow.
Yeah. Lumbee Indian out of North Carolina. He's one of the, I think he may be currently the only active Division I Native American coach. Don't quote me on that, but he may be currently. But he's that aside. I mean, I'm personally proud of that. But that aside, man, I've never had a chance to meet him. It's a bucket list thing for me. I know his daughter pretty well. She works with the program. Just met her along the way, just at different basketball things. Awesome family. But you talk about his run. I've been lucky enough to coach three players who played for him at Houston in the G League. And all these guys, I picked their brains. You know what I mean? Hey, what's Coach Krzyzewski like, or what's Calvin like? So I'm always just picking players' brains about that. But him specifically, like, there's just, his players have a level of reverence and respect for him. And it's not because he's easy on them. You know what I mean? And they're smart enough to know he's exactly what I needed coming out of high school as an 18-year-old kid. Now I'm kind of paraphrasing these conversations with these different players I've talked with, but I mean, it's you would appreciate as a football guy, man, the level of physicality, and
well, those practice films that were on Twitter. I mean, doing the loose ball, that was insane.
Loose ball, and kind of a common thing that these players that played for him that'll tell you is, the old bubbles they put on the rim, the rebounding bubbles where the ball can't go in. They'll play with those. They'll scrimmage with those on each basket, and it's just a full-out offensive rebound, sending five to the glass, hockey style, pitch it and fetch it type deal, and it just creates that level of resilience. There's a standard he has, and he's unwavering in letting up on that standard. And that sounds really simple. And this as a coach, that sounds really simple to do. Like everyone can say that from the couch or from a Zoom meeting like we're on right now. It isn't easy. It's hard to, when things are moving and there's so many variables, especially at maybe a level that I'm fortunate enough to be at, where there's money involved, it's high stakes, it's so many variables that you can maybe compromise or bend your standards, and it may not be always the right move. Now, being unflexible being stubborn and inflexible is a fine line from holding your standards, right? But my point is, going back to Coach Sampson, man, he's resilient and but his players love him. You know what I mean?
No, they do. I just that Final Four was amazing this year. Tell me about this guy. And he's been kind of a hero of mine ever since his days with the Dallas Mavericks. What's Rick Carlisle like?
Extremely sharp. I've been lucky enough to just, be around him, the last 3 years. Their staff is really gracious with us. We're in the same building as them. And obviously when our season's going and their season's going, it's just so frantic and busy, and our schedules don't always align, but been really lucky. Have been really good to us in terms of observing training camp and being around in practices and just kind of, I'm always around and just trying to soak it up. And if they ever need a helping hand, whether it's off season to help out with a workout or whatever the case might be, they've been really great. He's been specifically really gracious to allow us to be around. And with that being said, I mean, an extremely smart, intelligent guy, and chooses a tremendous communicator, chooses his words. There's no, unlike me and you, us two clowns, there's no wasted words.
Yeah.
With Coach Carlisle, he knows what he wants, and he's an elite communicator, and that's a huge part of coaching, teaching, whatever you want to call it, is don't tell me how the watch is made, tell me the time. And that's what these players want, really, at any level. And he is a lead in that. All the X's and O's aside, that goes without saying. I mean, the guy's, he's just a basketball, encyclopedia, and his staff's really good as well. But, that's the one thing, being around him, observing him, he's a very focused, very, very focused man.
The biggest question I was going to ask you, most important, have you got your season tickets yet for the Indiana Fever, for Caitlin Clark's show? Sophia Cunningham, now they got everybody.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about an exciting time to be here.
Oh man,
it's been awesome. My wife and I, we live right downtown.
What?
I live close to the arena. So like on game days, meaning in the summer during the W, it is electric. I've been lucky. I got a chance to meet her. Her boyfriend worked for the Pacers last year. Awesome guy. He now works with Butler University. And so I've got a chance to meet her once. I've seen her work out multiple times. You talk about that laser focus.
Yes. She looks like she's toned out, like she's bigger. She's like ripped now.
Yeah, I think she's probably, made that, it's just kind of a natural progression with any person physically. But, you got to keep in mind, it's these women in the W, like it's a wild ride, because they go from finishing their season in like Caitlin, she made a run to the national championship last year. So she's playing into April. Their draft is like middle of April. Their training camp, I believe, started today or yesterday. And then you play a whole season. That is a toll. That is an extreme toll. So, she probably, to your point of now she got an off season to focus on whatever she wanted to focus on. But I mean, man, she is so good. I don't have any other word to describe it. So good.
When that film came out of her in Iowa putting up, I think 22 in like a minute and a half or something against men who were playing the practice team. I mean, everybody knew she was good, but that was like, okay, she's on a different level. Yeah.
And not just men, but let's preface this. Those are guys who would respectfully walk in any YMCA and
dominate.
probably run the table. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're former college guys or high level high school players. So yeah, I mean, it's special. They've done a great job. Just putting together what's a really exciting team. I went to a few games last year. To answer your question, tickets they're going to be hard to get.
I was
lucky to get to a few games last year, and it was a level of excitement. Just like what, and we've been lucky, meaning our G League team, we've had a level of success in my time here. That's been exciting. But and what I'm getting at is the Pacers' excitement right now. I mean, they're just a fun, dynamic team to watch, and I can't wait for the rest of, I'm saying, I kind of where I'm from out west, where you're at right now. I'm excited for some friends and family who aren't familiar with the Pacers, just to see their style of play, man, because it's an exciting time to be in Indianapolis.
Anytime you got a player like Halliburton, you got a chance. I mean, dude, he can just take it over. Your thoughts on an interesting series, and I want to talk to you about this because I'm a T-Pubs fan. I like the Timberwolves This Lakers series, this is going to come out tomorrow, so this is kind of an interesting series. The Luka trade put ripple effects all throughout the NBA. Now you got LeBron, Luka, but Anthony Edwards, the Timberwolves. Anthony Edwards, I don't know if you caught that Netflix documentary where he said, "I'm not scared of anybody. I'll play against anybody." He really liked Kevin Durant. We saw last year in the playoffs just kind of tore up KD, and they were kind of laughing John back and forth. Well, what are your thoughts on this interesting Timberwolves Lakers series?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a ton of specifics to offer you, but from a fan standpoint, I mean, I think this playoff, it's all exciting. You know, I know you said you're a Timberwolves fan.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard maybe it's because I'm a little older, but it's going to be hard. Even though LeBron's 40,
oh, he's still good.
It's going to be hard to get him and Luka. It's not an easy out, and nor is the Timberwolves. Well, you know, the Pacers play tonight, so I'm a little locked in on that.
I bet.
But yeah, I mean, I wished I had more specifics. I wish I had a secret sauce to offer you, but it's exciting. I could easily see that one going. I could easily see going 7. There's numerous series that I could see going 7, and that's awesome for the league. It's awesome for the fans, you know, and it's fun for the players too, man. And the coaches, like it's you know, even anytime you can play in the playoffs, whether it's the G League, high school tournament time, it's just a different level. And I'm sure you've seen it with these first few games in the playoffs. The level of physicality is just ramped up. And there's been some rule changes in the NBA that's kind of benefited the defense a little more, that have taken effect this season. And I mean, you know, I don't say this with any inner secret knowledge, but I just think you're going to see a more physical style of NBA going forward. And we saw it in the G League firsthand this year. But my point is, man, these playoffs they've been physical, they've been fun, but still an exciting style of play that players want to play and fans want to see. You know, it's the NBA is far. You hear the buzz and of all they do is shoot threes and things like that. But you know, if the and that's okay. That fan, you know, that's fan is short for fanatic. So and there's a lot of days I'm a fan too, and I'm a fanatic too. So, but I mean, there's a lot more into it than just what they, you know, that what the talking heads say about that. It's a highly sophisticated level of basketball, and it leads to an exciting level of basketball. Now you're starting to see a little more physicality as the playoffs come around.
Let's talk a little bit more about the G League here, because that's kind of your bread and butter. Is there a couple players right now on your radar that you've seen play in the G League that you're like, okay, this guy's going to be good at the next level?
I mean, I'm biased. We had some guys this year. I'd mentioned Johnny Furphy, who was on assignment with us. I think 15 games or something like that, give or take. And he was a second round draft pick for the Pacers this past season. And I mean, I think he's gonna be a heck of a player in this league. Good guy, good young guy. He's only 19, 20 years old.
Wow.
Really excited about him. Just excited to see his growth. But the league is riddled with all kinds of talent. You know, there's been all kinds of talent in the league that I think will be household names in the future here. But I'm just going to stick to the Pacers' homegrown talent for now. Our two ways were really good this year. A guy named Ray J. Dennis, who played at Boise State and then transferred to Baylor. I believe started at Tulane. Tremendous point guard, just like the pure point guard. He was pleasure to coach this year. Made us all look really good at times. I mean, because having a point guard is such a luxury at any level of basketball. Just a point guard who can get you in your actions and distribute the ball. And he was that for us. Another guy named Enrique Freeman was our other two-way, played at Akron. Awesome story. Got into basketball late. at Akron. I don't even think he went to Akron without the intent of even playing,
Whoa.
and ended up, I'm paraphrasing the story, but ended up, obviously joining the team, was the player in the league and that player of the year in that conference, and is now an NBA two-way player. And then Quentin Jackson is our other two-way.
Oh, nice.
Played at Texas
Yep.
A&M. He's been a two-way for us for 2 years, and man, just a awesome guy, great energy, just one of those guys. And I'm sure you've been around those guys as teammates or young guys you've coached, that when they enter the gym, it's just a different energy they bring,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so yeah, so I mean, those are guys that obviously I'm biased toward, but just tremendous talent. And you mentioned Jaleel Okafor. He's got a lot left in the tank. And he's gonna have a lot more years of playing and setting himself up from a personal level, but also, fulfilling whatever he wants to do.
Man. Well, listen, coach, we've been at this for a minute, and I just want to say, from one dreamer to another, watching your way, your everything you've done has been not only inspirational, but I'm proud to be a friend of yours, and I wish you the best. But a question we ask everybody at the end of swim lessons is, what do you say to yourself when your back's against the wall and you got to get through a tough time, and leave us with something that maybe somebody listening can make applicable to their life?
Well, after the cursing, or no, no, that's a joke. We can edit that out. Yeah, I mean, these are all things I've kind of had internally and probably not smart enough to articulate. So I've heard other people articulate, and I'm like, hey, yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. But there's a lot of things. You're faced with that. You fall back on a level of your resilience. And for me personally, I just know where I'm from, that there's been a lot of people that have sacrificed for me to be in this position. And without getting, I don't mean to be too melodramatic or too deep, but even from a cultural and historic standpoint, I mean, I was born and raised on the Blackfeet Indian Reservation, and I come from a group of people who were resilient and survivors and fought to keep literally that piece of land, so I could have a home, decades, centuries later, and be afforded an opportunity. And again, I don't say that to
No, I
sound
gotcha.
melodramatic, but
Yeah.
that's the reality of it.
Oh, yeah.
And I carry that with me everywhere I go. And I'd mentioned I've been with 12 different teams and organizations in a career span. I've been a Blue Hawk. I've been a Mad Ant. I've been a Wolf. I've been a Bobcat, a Viper, a Buck. But
Go.
go. I say that tongue in cheek, but first and foremost, man, I'm a Blackfeet Indian, and I carry that everywhere I go, and I'm proud of that. But also, like, I carry that level of resilience. Like, hopefully, I can persevere to represent that group, but also I know what was sacrificed to even me being here. If from a cultural standpoint, but even from my own immediate family standpoint, the level of sacrifice they've been giving to me. So for me, that's one of the reasons how you persevere with those moments. That level of resiliency. It's nothing I found and attributed along the way. It was ingrained in me, and I was frankly gifted it. Being where I'm from. I don't run from it. I don't apologize. I don't not apologize. It's not the right word, but I don't look back on where I grew up and go, man, I had it so tough, and that's a tough area, because statistically, yes, it is. I'm not gonna let's cut through the bit. It's statistically a hardship area, but you have a level of resilient people there, and I carry that with me. So that's probably the biggest thing. But also, one of the other things is you fall back to your level of training, right? There's that whole adage of, man, let's get amped for game night. No, the reality is you fall back to your level of training. You don't amp up and find some level on a championship game. You're just going to revert back to your level of training. And my level of training is just my experience. I mentioned that resiliency, but that aside, just hopefully a level of experience and confidence I've built on this journey. I've been lucky enough to acquire. But it all starts with there's a lot of people that believe in you. And I heard this the other day, and I was fueled by this, maybe still fueled by it as well. It's kind of human nature to proving any doubter wrong, right? That's what drives you. You hear that all the time, right? I'm going to prove a doubter wrong. And in full honesty here, yes, that's human nature, right? You want to prove someone who didn't believe in you wrong. But I heard this recently. How about making the people who believed in you and sacrificed for you right? Someone who gave you that opportunity, how about proving them right? Whether it's the support from your family, my wife, or the support from your supervisor at your job. You know what I mean? Like, I'm forever grateful for, I know how hard this profession is, and I am grateful for every job I've been given, every opportunity I've been given. Never take it for granted, ever. And if that's one thing I carry with me, it's that. And I don't want to let those folks down. Not just my wife, who's had to move and pack up and do all these things. I don't want to let her down. I want to prove her right. But also the head coach I work for, the general manager I work for, the organization I work for. There's a lot of guys there's a lot of talented people in this world. Far more talented than me. I've just been lucky enough to make the most of these opportunities. So you hear that, prove them wrong. That's what I'm going to do. But I'm trying to, subscribe to I want to prove these folks right that believed in me.
Kyrie Irving carries that heritage with him a lot. He even came to North Dakota and visited a couple Native American reservations.
Yeah, and I think that's so awesome. Again, that's another guy I've never really had a chance to meet, but I'm always grateful for anyone who can connect, who has that connection to Indian country, and who's in a position like that to highlight it. Because there's just statistically, there's just, there's just not a lot of representation. I mean, being in North Dakota and me being from Montana, we're surrounded by it. Obviously I was, I grew up on a reservation, so I understand it firsthand. But even someone who didn't live on the reservation or is not Indian, who grew up in Montana, North Dakota, they have a connection to it. They know someone, they're teammates with someone they play. But you get outside of some of those states, and there's some people, there's a lot of times I'm someone's first Native American they've met, you know what I mean? Or someone who, I've never met someone from a reservation, or I've never met someone from Montana. I've gotten that a lot. My point is, so anytime, you have someone in a level like Kyrie or Coach Sampson who can highlight that and show the world that, hey, we're still here. But again, it's a numbers thing. We're not represented at a high level. So that's why I have such a reverence for those guys in those positions that do that.
Man, great. I appreciate the time so much. Before we go, I was supposed to tell you hello from Josh Borum. I told him the other night on the phone, I'm talking to Coach Wetzel. He's like, dude, I love that guy. So hello from Josh Borum.
Oh man, I tell you what, man, I love my wife, and we loved our time there. And it was a point of pride to kind of, you always want to leave something better than you found it. And, I was really, really proud of what we accomplished there. Being able to, win a championship our last year there, and we didn't do the reason why we did is because we had really talented dudes. But my point is, I still follow the program, man. All those guys, and a connection to you and Pete and
Oh yeah.
what the basketball team did this year.
Oh, Selvig
Derek
had him
Selvig,
playing. Yeah.
holy cow, man! Like awesome stuff. Montana guy, just for anyone who's interested
Yep.
out there.
Oh yeah,
Coach
Glendive.
Selvig. So yeah, man, that was such a fun time there. Looking back on it, I think the first time you and I actually met was I might be spilling too much tea here, but it was at the Spur. At the Spur, and we're talking hoops and
yep.
Yeah, man, it was a great time. It was a great time.
That was so much fun. So much fun. Well, I don't want to hold you up all day, but thank you so much for your time and looking forward to watching your progress. Give us a quick plug where people can find you on social media and follow along on the journey.
Yeah, that's a great question, Dallas.
I think it's Coach Wetzel on Instagram.
You can find me on MySpace. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, Instagram is justin.r.wetzel. If anyone's interested on me never posting, in a really boring follow. But yeah, anyway, with that being said, honestly, like anyone who wants to connect, anyone has any questions, or maybe someone can offer me advice. But yeah, man, I'm willing. Anyone who has any questions or ever wants to get out to Indiana and maybe catch a game, yeah, feel free to reach out, man. And awesome work what you're doing. This is awesome, man. So I'm glad to be on this and have a chance to catch you on the ground level because it's only up from here.
Well, I'm gonna come out there when I meet McAfee, so
let's do it.
Let that slip. So yeah, I'm gonna come out. We're gonna meet. Maybe go to a Fever game. Go see CC ball out. Yes, let's figure this out. But
for sure, yeah.
Appreciate your time, and that's a wrap, Coach Wetzel.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you.